Well, hello everyone. Oh, DeAngelo, I'm loving this shoulder shimmy and this
Eh,
colorful blouse you giving us
you
today.
know that's how I get pumped up. Well, thank you. Today's blouse is by No Tribe Clothing as well. Please go shopping there at Black Brand.
I love this. I love this shouting out of the Black brands, honey. We're gonna have to get one of them to sponsor us at some point.
Hey, that's the goal. That's why I'm shutting the middle. Hello, somebody. Okay, can you clothe me for the whole year? Okay, hello.
Just you, or what about your co-host?
Oh, actually, they do have a women's line. So yes, Kenny, they can close both of us. Hello, somebody.
At
We're
the
ready.
at the end of the day, it could be a unisex brand, so
It
that's
could.
fine. I like a good oversized
You
something.
do. This is true. This is true.
Well, hello and welcome every beautiful body out there. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I'm the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. I'm joined by my colorful co-host today, bestie and soul friend. Yes, I'm gonna say it again, of 20 plus years. DeAngelo Crane. Hello, D.
Hello. A colorful as in clothing or personality? Which one?
Child, I think we know a little bit of both at this point.
Blair, I'm always happy to be in your presence. So glad to be here again with you today on our day 3 of this wonderful, the Black Diva Collective LinkedIn Live journey. I always call it LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube Live journey. We gotta make sure we get all the social medias in there, right?
Absolutely. You can say that, but this is where they come to see us. They can definitely see pre-recorded videos on YouTube as well. So we'll make sure that we share those links as time goes on. And D'Angelo, I don't know if you saw, we have a new Instagram page that just went up today.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I saw that great new Instagram page. It's bright and beautiful for the Black Diva Collective on
It's
Instagram. What's
yes,
it called?
it's at black.diba, DEIBA.
Yeah, you see, I saw the page. Yes. Okay, there you go.
We are welcomed also by our guest speaker, Chéla Gage, and I'll be sure to do an introduction of her. But hello, beautiful. How are you today?
I am fantastic and I'm loving this energy. This is exactly what I need today. So thank you.
We can't help it.
How lucky are you to have that friendship for 20 years? Not a lot of people have that. So don't take it for granted.
You're blessed, D'Angelo. You are so blessed. I'll pass it back to you, D.
Well, we've already checked in. We do this every day. It's our segment where we check in with one another and see how we're feeling and how we're living. So, Blair, how are you doing today?
You know what? I have a smile on my face, but I'm a little heavy on the inside, trying to figure out things with my son. He is 20 years old and also trying to figure out his life. So that is partly a challenge, but I am blessed that he is armed with all the things and he is covered not only with the things that I've taught him, but with prayer. So he'll be good, but still smiling. He's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
D'Angelo, how are you feeling today?
Well, truth be told, I just jumped on this call 2 minutes before it was supposed to start. I have no jewelry on at all. I feel naked right now, but I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's get started. Taylor, we go deeper in the check-in. So, how are you feeling? You feel excited, indifferent, whatever's on your mind. Share with us.
I don't know. I feel blessed and highly favored at this moment. I am loving life. I have a son who is turning 18 and graduating. And yes, I have my mama. I can't believe this is happening, but he is such a great kid. And I can't wait to see what he has in store for me and his life moving forward.
I love that you are both are raising young kings that are going to be the next leaders and be doing all the work that we're talking about today. I always say the work we're doing today, we're not going to see the fruition, but the young kings and queens that you are raising, they are going to see this come to fruition. So I'm definitely excited about that and commend both of you for raising these teens. Because I remember being a teenage boy. Child, that's a whole nother show. Okay,
It's
'Cause I gave my mother some
say
party.
it.
I know she was on her knees all the time in prayers. Okay, so
Say it.
kudos to both of you and all the parents out there who are raising teenagers because it's not an easy task or any kids for that matter.
Thank you.
No, and I got 3. So if I can get a little prayer chain going, that'll be nice.
Absolutely. Shout out to all the parents and the entire village, because it truly takes that as well.
It takes a village.
So on top of Chéla being responsible for 3 young humans, Chéla is also responsible for developing and creating the strategic long-term hiring plan and initiatives to advance the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging for company Reformation. So prior to joining Reformation, Chéla led global talent teams within high tech, automotive, and aerospace industries across the US, Brazil, China, France, Japan, just to name a few, and brings over 20 years of talent and DEI experience. So, of course, not only because of those wonderful things, but she also was willing to hop on a quick LinkedIn connection with me. And this is what brings her here today. And so thank you again for being here, Chéla. We appreciate you as a guest speaker today.
I'm grateful that this place exists for us in the DEIBA world. We need places where we can fill our own cup. This work is hard, and having something like this that exists, I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you for the ask.
No problem. Well, I know I gave a little bit of background, which you shared with us, and some quick Googles that we were able to, dig up. But for the people out there, tell us a little bit about the company that you work for and the work that you do in your own words.
Thank you. So you were talking about fashion, which is so fantastic. If you can see behind me, there's like a little fashion store we have. My company, Reformation, is in fashion and retail. We focus on women's apparel, primarily on sustainability. So all of our clothes are made with sustainable material. Not only do we focus on sustainability, but our goal is to bring sustainable fashion to everyone. So in the fashion industry, I'm new to fashion. As you mentioned, my background is in engineering, automotive, and aerospace. And becoming new to fashion, I've had to get used to what they call extended sizes. And I am a size 12, and I didn't realize that 12 wasn't extended, but it is. I'm getting used to that. We also have a petite fashion. And what I love about that is on the DE&I side, I really wanted to be with an organization that understood DEI is a long-term game plan, and a company that could focus on sustainability, climate change, being climate neutral by 2025. That is a long-term game plan. And I figured a company that can focus on that long-term game plan can really stay true when times get hard in DEI. And I've been with the company for 11 months now, and that is true. I love that I can, within the DE&I space, I am impacting the external customer. Not only am I looking out for our 800 employees across the globe, but I feel like if I create an environment of inclusion and belonging for our employees, then that goes to our customers who are buying our clothes, coming in, they want to look pretty, they want to feel like they belong. And I'm very hopeful that our environment is one that is inclusive and it brings our customers along with us. My role is responsible for not only the DEI side, but I also have the talent side. And I love how the two of them connect, because come on, how many times have we sat in the seat of DE&I, and I'll say some organizations, and I call them lazy, but they always say, we need to hire more talent. Okay, hiring Black talent, inclusive talent, underrepresented talent is not the only way to bring in DEIA into your organization. If that's the only thing that you are doing, then I will call that a lazy organization.
Yeah. You know what? You said so many things that really touched my spirit. I mean, the first thing that I heard was fashion. And I was just like, ooh, that's right up our alley, D. Like, if we could do DEIBA work in fashion, bringing both of us together.
Actually, no, I'm joking. No.
Well, right.
I'm joking. No, yes. No, that's why I wore this shirt today, because I knew we were having a powerhouse fashion leader on the phone. So I was very excited to put some color. But yes, what would you say? I'm sorry. I was
No,
all excited.
no, that was the first thought that came to mind was, and we're both very excited. I mean, I think we both missed our calling in some form or fashion. DeAngelo, sometimes he was just like, I would never style, but he does it so effortlessly and so naturally. And I have always had that gift and that love as well in fashion. And then, of course, our lived experiences and some of just our work experiences brought us into this world. But it would be great to be able to pull those together. You mentioned a couple of things about sustainability, as it pertains to, of course, the clothing, but also as it pertains to the work that we do. And I love to dig into that a little bit further. And I'm sure Dee will take us into that as we talk about our topic.
Yeah. So, okay. So you all were talking about mothers earlier, and I was just thinking about this, that I was thinking about my own mother experience. I remember there were days as a single mother when she'd be like, all I got is some chicken and some potatoes. And every day we had a gourmet meal with them chicken and potatoes. We had our gratin potatoes. We had mashed potatoes. We had a baked potato, fried chicken, baked chicken, sauteed chicken, any way you could do it. But she just took that little bit and made a whole lot with it. She took that little bit and really made it grow and really made an impact. And when I think about what DEIBA leaders are doing today and Black professionals are doing in our workplaces, and we're taking a little bit and making magic out of it. We're often working with very meager budgets. We're often the only person in that department who is doing the work we need to do. And I heard someone say, we are often the therapist for the organization, right? And so I'm telling you, we're doing all of this great, significant work and making an impact with very little. And that's what today's topic is all about, right? We're going to talk about Chéla about making doing big things with just a little tiny bit, like your mother went through, right? Just a little bit. How do you make that stretch? How do you make some dynamic work when you're only working with just a little bit in your arsenal? How do you make that stretch? How do you make that work? So I'm really excited about talking to someone who works for a sustainability company, right? That fits into it because it's all about taking the the little resources that we have and making a really large impact. So yes, I'm excited about today's topic for sure.
Well, let's go into our first question. So I love how you were very specific in talking about some of your previous experiences, growing up, Dee, with, your mother. Shout out to Big Gypsy out there. But my question to you is specifically, how are Black professionals and employees impacted as it pertains to doing more with less in your experience, Chéla?
So there's a couple of things. There was an article that came out maybe a year and a half ago, and it was focused on what does the new chief diversity officer need in order to be successful. And this article was saying that a lot of companies have hired chief diversity officers, but they have not given them the resources, be it in people or the resources and budget to be successful. My experience, and thank you for highlighting all the places that I've worked, but the last company that I worked at where I was responsible for talent acquisition and DE&I had a talent acquisition team over 30 individuals and a DE&I team we were growing it up to be over 12. And that was for an employee population that had 40,000 employees. Now, and the company was a 100-year-old company. And so with all of that came the abundance of resources. We had technology, we had tech stacks that had been developed over years. We had data that was collectible and we could see trends of data. When you are the sole individual, or let's say the one or two, because there could be one or two, then you have to figure out how can you, as your chief diversity officer, how can you make the impact that you want to make in the organization? And I always say there are three things that resonate for me in my large corporation experience and in my small corporation experience. And for me, that is the planning, the accountability, the outcomes or impact. And I think for any individual leading on a large or a small, in my experience, those three things are key.
Ooh, well said. Can you repeat them for us once more for the people in the back? Planning, what else?
Planning, accountability, and outcomes or impact.
Okay, so I love a good either alliteration or some abbreviation. So the PAO, right?
The PAO.
The
The
PAO.
PAO.
You want to do more with less, you better have your PAO in order.
I'm taking that.
Planning, accountability, and outcomes.
And outcomes. Yep.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Dee, what were you about to say?
No, I want to lean into this more. Let's talk about accountability. What is an organization's accountability to their Black employees to help them along this journey? What does that look like when they show up with accountability? Because oftentimes, right, we were doing lots of performative things and they were like, well, that's our accountability. We're talking about it. Is that really accountability, though? So, what does that accountability look like when organizations are showing up as authentic allies and change movers and tempered radicals, right? When we're trying to change the organization and make that culture shift?
There are a couple of things, and so many that it's either three or four, but the biggest thing that comes to mind is inclusive leadership. There is this is not only for Black employees, but for all employees, especially those who are underrepresented and trying to find their voices, is our organizations creating psychologically safe places for employees to be their whole authentic selves. Because as an underrepresented employee, as a Black female, it gets exhausting to switch, right? It gets exhausting to play corporate America and to be Chéla. And so I've decided in my career that I am who I am, regardless of the organization, regardless of if the organization is creating that psychologically safe place, but I am better when the organization does. So I think an organization that does that creates psychologically safe places. Second, an organization that is true to their word. An organization that says we are inclusive and we create an environment that is belonging is an organization that takes hard decisions. And some of those hard decisions could mean getting rid of individuals or employees in your organization that don't live up to the values that you are saying you hold true. And so it's different if I'm a Black female coming into an organization and I have a leader that's not inclusive, and then I have this corporate culture that says we are inclusive. As my individual leader is where I find my trust and my source. And so if my leader is not inclusive, I'm not going to feel that inclusive. And so the leader has to lead. I'm sorry. There are and sometimes you can train as much as you want. I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. How about that?
Yeah.
You can train as much as you want, but if the behaviors don't change, then I'm sorry. It's time to look for another organization where that employee can be more comfortable. And then the third thing is I really do believe in employee resource groups or community. I believe that all underrepresented employees need a place a safe haven, where they can be themselves, where they can collect information. What is it? How has it been to be a Black employee at this company? Mm-hmm. If you are an employee who has been successful, how can I get a mentor, or how can I get a sponsor more than a mentor? And I believe that employee resource groups really do help employees feel more connected to an organization, and they help employees stay at an organization. Because most companies, you don't want to do all of the hard work of bringing talent into an org, and then a year later, that talent just cycles out. So I always say an organization that is doing their best for their current employees, that's the organization that I want to go to.
Got it.
I hope that answers that question, DeAngelo.
Yeah, it does. And I want to, we don't have time today, but I want to invite you back for this notion of get off the bus. Like I always say that all the time, the organizations have to define who they want to be. And if when you walk in these doors, you don't want to live up to the values and the traits and the mission of this organization, get off this bus.
Yeah.
And we often want to, so just get off the bus. So that's a whole other topic. So why don't you come back and talk about that, about getting off the bus? I'm going to turn it back over to you, please.
Well, you know what? So to dive back into the PAO. So when I hear you say get off the bus, D, that has a lot to do with succession planning as well. So if you don't get off the bus or if somebody's not pushing you off the bus, then perhaps you could start planning your exit off the bus. And by doing so, you're tapping people on the shoulder that should be in this seat. And it's not just the people that you went to school with. It's not just the people that share the same background or the same country club or whatever the case may be, but it's folks who are underrepresented. And it's folks who may not have had that seat. And so when we talk about readiness, but we've talked about it a little bit, DeAngelo, that's a part of that readiness is succession planning, is getting people prepared to be in leadership. So that was the P that I thought about. The A, and it may have been you, and forgive me, Chéla, I have spoken to a lot of folks recently, getting folks prepared for their guest seat, but there was someone that spoke about, I think it was you. It was accountability for leaders. Before you can become a leader, was it you? Before you can become a leader, you have to go through some sort of training. Was that?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
So one of the things that I created in the large organization that I was in is a DEI certificate. And what I loved about that certificate, it was layers of classes that individuals need to go through. Now, as a DE&I leader, sometimes they look at us and they say, okay, give me the unconscious bias training. Good, got it, done. Mm-hmm. Give me that microaggression training. Good, got it, done. It's to check the box. No, honey, the DE&I certificate is really, yes, it's layers of classes, but there's actionable items that leaders need to do. They are responsible for looking at their succession plans and pipeline. We hold them accountable, looking at their retention rates of individuals. And then not only do they have to be responsible for that retention rate and keeping them accountable there, but those 3 classes of microaggressions, anti-racism, and inclusive leadership, those classes have to be taken before an individual can be promoted to a leadership position, or if you're currently in a leadership position, it has to be done within 90 days of the certificate going live. And what I love about that is DEI has many, in different organizations, it can be described different ways. And in our organization, if you've taken your DEI certificate, then I know for a fact that you've been trained on unconscious bias, micro-messaging, and inclusive leadership, so that when push comes to shove and your behavior is not reflecting that values that we hold true of moving talent through the pipeline, of hiring underrepresented talent, then when it's time for you to get off the bus, I can actually say, you've been trained, you know what to do, you're deciding not to do it.
Love that. Yeah.
I just have so many questions around that. Really quickly here, how did you get the organization to buy into that? And did you see any, which I would think you did, I'm just going to assume that you did, but did you all see any better outcomes? Did you see heightened engagement and belonging for teams that had leaders who went through that process versus teams that didn't?
Yes. Okay. So I'm rolling out DEI certification right now at Reformation. We just completed our first class, and we had over 70 of our leaders go through that first class. When I was at Raytheon Technologies and Pratt & Whitney, when we went live with our DEI certificate, we found not only were people signing up to do the classes, it wasn't mandatory. And I saw honestly more white men taking this class than anything we expected. Not only were they reaching and seeking for information, but there was a certificate that they could put on their LinkedIn profile. It's a badge of honor. So what made it successful was in an organization that has layers, and every org we aspire to be vice president. We aspire to be senior vice president. The first thing I did was took our senior leadership through the class, and I certified them first. So now they had to go through it. And leaders, as you go through it, now I need for you to get the rest of your leadership team through it. So it's show by example. And that's how I got leaders through the success. Now, one of the other things that we found successful with that certificate is our employees that were a part of the employee resource groups, the minute they found out that in order to be a leader, you had to have this DEI certificate, man, the credibility of DE&I office just shot through the roof. It was like, you are really holding them accountable. It was, you're doing more than just the performative. You're doing more than the check the box. I got so many thank yous for hearing me. Thank you for making my leader go through this. Thank you for creating a safe place for me.
Love that. Oh, yeah, that is something very tangible that a lot of folks in there can definitely take into their next meeting, if you will. I was doing some quick reading, just like 3 things that folks can do when it comes to doing more with less. And one thing said, make sure that there's a purpose in mind. Make sure that you are comfortable saying no, and then make sure that you can figure out some type of system to chunk the work or to create some types of chunks of work. I know you gave us this PAO framework as well, but this is a lot of stuff to do, and we're doing it with less, and we're thinking about all kinds of ways to do more with less. Particularly for Black employees, what do you recommend that we do to create a business case to say we've done a lot with less? Now it's time to pay us more. Now it's time to give us more funding. What would you say are 2 things we can do to create a business case for more?
I think data is the biggest one. An organization, and that's how I think we as Black leaders hold organizations large and small accountable, is putting data in front of them, showing trends. And you mentioned impact. I think it's the knowing and aligning on outcomes. So it's that, and that's where the planning gets into place. It's really taking a look at the organization and seeing where they are, understanding where you want the org to be it 2, 3, 5 years from now, and then creating that plan to say, in order to get to Z, here are the letters of the alphabet that you need in order to accomplish that. Then there's you mentioned saying no. There's the want for us to wear the cape, to be Superwoman or Superman, and we can't do that. The space of DEI is so significant. It's so important that it requires that we come out of ourselves. We step out of being the superhero and say, I can't do it all. If it's just me and a team of 3, here are the 3 things that we're going to do this year. If you want anything greater than that, we need more resources in order to, for example, increase our representation by 3%. And we've only done it at 1% with a team of 2. In order to double that, we need to double the team. Yeah. It's the same as if you wouldn't send a salesman out to sell with lack of resources. You wouldn't give him or her half of a briefcase of information. So why would you do that for DE&I?
Chéla, you'd be surprised. I was in sales for 10 years. Yes, they do. They give us a data sheet.
They give you
we'll figure it out. But we know better. We should do better. We know better. We should do better. Well, Chéla, it sounds like one thing that folks can definitely take into their next meeting is this PAO framework that you have. Think about the planning, think about the accountability, and definitely think about the outcome. Thank you again for all of this information today. There was just a perfect amount of bite-sized learning. But I'm going to pass it back to you. You have something for us as well?
I always do. Just want to shout out today to all of the DEIBA professionals out there who are looking for jobs. Please, everyone in the LinkedIn community, continue to wrap your hands around them and support them and honor them. Hire them to come in and do some consulting work or to speak or whatever you can do for them, or hire them for full-time jobs, because those professionals are still needed in the workplace now and forever, and more than ever when you see all the laws and things that are happening around the country. So just shout out to all of those. You are in my heart. All right, Blair, back to you.
All right. Well, Chéla, what's the best way for people to reach you or to engage with you after this live?
Thank you. I am on LinkedIn often. As someone who is a former recruiter, I can't get my eyes off of it. So find me at Chéla Gage on LinkedIn. And on Instagram, tweet at Che, TweetAtChe.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's session. Thank you again, both for your time. And also join us tomorrow and every single day at noon for your daily dose of DEIBA with DMB at the Black DEIBA Collective. Y'all have a great day. Chéla, thank you again for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you.